So, as every episode, we come with the Minding Your Business podcast. Is sponsored by Brooks Brothers Consulting. We are a lending and banking consulting firm. We work with not just banks, but also individuals on developing business development platforms, sales platforms, and leadership platforms. So no matter the size of your business, whether you're starting up or whether you've been in business 100 years, we have a platform that we can help you. We started in June of 2013 along with my brother Philip, and we've had an opportunity to work with banks and credit unions around the country, private lenders, brokers, you name it. We've been able to help them develop the type of platforms that allows them to generate the type of business that they're looking for. And it's not just limited to banking or people in finance. We've been able to work with people in education. We've been able to work with people in logistics and manufacturing and trucking. So whatever it is, we've been able to do that. So definitely look forward to working with you. 901-808-3801. 901-808-3801 is the number for Brooks Brothers Consulting. And you can check us out, www.brooksbrothersconsulting.com. So you could do that. We're getting ready to get hyped. This is episode 57, the Minding Your Business podcast. There's no business like minding your own. Entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. We're going to go ahead and get the music rolling, baby. Let's do it.
What we do here is go back.
So thank you so much for joining on today. We've made it to episode 57. I've got a special guest today, Emily Guy Birken, who is a personal finance expert and an author. She's up in the upper Midwest, and I'm going to have her go ahead and join us here now. If I can go ahead and add her to the broadcast. Thank you.
You're welcome. Excuse me, guys.
So, we get good service here at Slice of Soul, so they don't even interrupt the podcast. They just be bringing stuff. All right, Emily. If you're out there, I'd love to add you. Let's see. Let's see how we can get Emily Guy Birken onto my Facebook Live so that we can have our conversation. Because that's what we're looking to do today as much as we can. So while we're waiting on Emily, hope everybody's had a marvelous week on this week. All right, so Emily says she's here. So let's see, how can we add her in? Laura Lee, how you doing? What's going on? Yeah, she may have to turn. Hey, Emily, if you're out there, turn your phone to the side. Let's see. Appears to be added to the broadcast. Let's see. May need. Hey, Emily, if you can, send me a request to join. Hey, Laura Lee, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining. Jay, what's going on? Ryan, what's up? Yeah, I'm waving at everybody. All right, so we're going to wait. Emily's going to join us. So, Emily, on your desktop, you should see a request to join the live broadcast. So if you're on your desktop, you should see a little person with a little deal down there, like a little picture. So hopefully you see that. But again, hoping everybody's had a great week. There's been so many things going on this week. We want to get in with Emily to talk some things all financial, as well as I want to talk about the report that came out here recently from Zillow concerning renting in America, particularly in the top 50 cities around the country. A lot of great information on that, man, that you're not going to want to miss. That's going to surprise you a little bit. So I'm going to shock you a little bit on how some of the cities are faring when it comes to the rental market. Okay? So that is our lineup for today. Lawrence, what's up, man?
What's going on, man?
What's going on? So
hey, man.
I told y'all I got my guy Lawrence Thompson here. He's doing some great things, man. He's been serving the country as he's been doing for many years. So we definitely thank him for his service and his team's service and that sort of thing to this country. And so, man, what's going on?
Hey, man, just back in the States, loving being back in the States. I've been here probably like 9 days now, so I'm getting used to everything, getting everything connected. And but yeah, man, we out here just trying to make an impact when we come back. You know what I'm saying? I deal around too, just like you just did.
Right, right.
Try to make impact and coming back. So my whole vision and goal is to really come back to the city and create, an impact, create something that is super amazing to help impact the city, man, to take them to the next level and move to that next round.
Gotcha. Okay. Man, that's what's up, man. So, you're looking to kind of round up 2018. Are these 2018 kind of moves you looking at? Are you getting ready for 2019? I'm sure you're doing a little both.
Hey, I got to say, time don't wait on me while I wait on it. So
right.
It's 2018, man. 2019 is kind of some ways away, and we still got time in this year to knock out and do what we need to do. So I'm after, doing what I need to do here in 2018 and create the momentum. So when I go into 2019, the momentum is created. I'm not trying to create a momentum in 19.
Right.
So we trying to do it, hit it hard, do what we got to do, create things, bring people in, connect people to different opportunities, expose people to more opportunities.
Right.
About how they can build their business, build their brands, and from writing books to starting even just a painting service site, kind of like around here.
Right.
We're out to help out and see what we can do on that level.
Man, there you go. There you go, man. So, man, that's awesome. We're going to hear more from Lawrence because we got some more questions for him. What's up, Kaylin? How you doing? Let's see. Emily, are you able to do anything with us, or we may have to get you on the line if we can't get you on the Facebook? I know you're on your desktop. You might have to get it on your phone, maybe. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. So, Emily, I sent you a request. Let's see. It's a good thing I got my guy Lawrence here because he's the expert on this. He might have been the one that gave Facebook this vision to be able to add people to your broadcast.
Right. See if you can touch our picture on her side.
Yeah. So
it does got a camera on that, right? You got a camera on her?
No,
we don't have a camera. She needs
no. Yeah, she's on. She needs to get on. So, Emily, you need to get on your phone if you can. Can you get on your phone? Get on your cell phone. So, we're going to see if she can get on her phone. So we'll see if she can get on her phone. Because that's probably what it is. She's got to join. Shay Brown, what's going on? Definitely thank Shay Brown for helping connect us on today. with Emily and to have this opportunity. So let's see. Okay, we're just waiting for her to, maybe she could get on the live. Because, yeah, the one thing about the live, I think you have to do it from your phone.
Yeah, you have to do it from your phone or your tablet, but you got to make sure that everything is turned the same way.
Yeah.
Your phone, if it's landscaped, their phone got to be landscaped. If it's,
Oh, really? Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if it's vertical, it's got to be vertical. So that's the only way they can see each other.
Right. Gotcha. Well, man, see, we're getting nuggets already. So yeah, man. So that's why we got my guy here. Hey, Erica, how you doing? Glad you could join. Sarah Du Bois, glad you could join. Let's see. Can we? Let's see. So we were just waiting for the camera to pop up for Emily, and then we're gonna add her.
If it's done, you can come. All right, thank you. If not, she can see how she updated her Facebook.
Yep, that's true.
If she haven't updated the Facebook, then that might be a problem.
Yeah, so we may see what we can do with that, or I may just see if I can just give her a call. Let's see if we can get her on the phone this way. Maybe.
The Republic Wireless member you have called is not available. Please leave a message after the beep.
Okay, so she said the phone's being slow. So that's typical sometimes of the phones. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the information on renting while we get Emily situated. And Emily is going to join us here in a second. Emily Guy Birken, personal finance guru, author, and expert. And we're going to talk and have a great conversation, dialogue with her. Because I got my questions ready to go. I got them ready to go. So, oh yeah, Emily, the joys of technology. That is for sure. All right, so while we're waiting, listen, Zillow came out with a report this week. They use U.S. Census data, and they came up with new figures on renting here in the United States. I see Adrian and a couple people who are real estate folks. So if you're in real estate, you're definitely interested in this, or if you're just an individual, you're interested in this. But around the country, according to Zillow, around this country, rent, so people who are renting property has increased by 5% nationwide. That's between 2006 and 2016 data. So in that 10-year period, renting around the country increased 5%. Okay? Now, I'm going to take you down to Memphis. So from a Memphis standpoint, here's what's interesting. Memphis was number one between 2006 and 2016. Memphis was number one with the number of renters. It increased 11%, which was number one in the country, number one among the top 50 cities in the country, in the United States of America. Memphis was number one with an 11% increase. Memphis was also number one in the least expensive rent. So the renters went up during that 10-year period, and the cost of renting, meaning the monthly rental expense, was the lowest among the top 50 states. Top 50 cities, excuse me. So Memphis, Tennessee. That you want to know what the average rent in Memphis is? If anybody can take a guess, or anybody on my Facebook Live wants to take a guess, you can do that. The rent in Memphis. Anybody, Shay, or anybody want to give a guess on my Facebook Live? You can add it to the comments if you want to. But the lowest rent is $835. And that's the lowest rent among the top 50 cities. Memphis is the lowest and had the biggest increase. Let me just give, just for, some giggles. San Francisco. Okay, so San Francisco, California, the mecca of technology and Silicon Valley. Want to guess what the average rent in San Francisco is? If you don't know, I'll tell you. $4,219 is your average rent in San Francisco, California. Markel said 500. Man, look, ain't not around anywhere. Now we're talking about averages now. So the average in San Francisco, California is $4,219. They only had about a 1.5% increase in terms of the number of renters, but that's kind of what you got there. So just to compare San Francisco and Memphis, that's what you got. Shaquana is my cousin right there, joining from, I guess she's in Georgia. I'm not sure she's in Georgia or South Carolina. She might be all over the place. All right. So we're going to get back to that. Emily, I think, is ready. So we may have to just add her just on the line if we're not able to get her on the Facebook Live. So our technology's failing us today. But nonetheless, we'll get a little bit older technology with the phone. So let's see if we can get that going.
Hello.
Hello, Emily. How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Hey, looks like our technology failed us, but that is okay, right?
That's quite all right.
Yeah, we'll just keep it going. So you're here live on the Minding Your Business podcast. And I thank you so much for joining. And just for everybody here on the podcast and those that are on Facebook Live, this is Emily Guy Birken, who is an author. She's got 4 books. I'm sure she's working on some others. We'll talk about that. Her most recent book is In Financial Stress Now, which I've had a chance to kind of start reading and glancing through, Emily, and was really blown away at your authenticity and transparency around personal finance. Particularly what I liked was in my early reading, your connectivity to people who may be struggling financially, whereas a lot of financial books tend to focus on comparing or contrasting people who are doing well to maybe people who aren't. You're doing a great job of just kind of connecting folks who may be struggling a little bit. So I guess if you would, Emily, tell us a little bit, I guess, about yourself and how you got into being a finance expert.
Sure. It was kind of a strange journey. I did not start out intending to be a financial expert. I'm actually an English teacher by training. I have a master's of education in English education, and I taught high school English for 4 years. And then my life changed. My husband and I moved to a new state when I was pregnant with our first child. And so the original plan was I was going to take a year off from teaching to stay home with my son. But during that time, I wanted to keep a little bit of money coming in. I had student loans and things like that, so I started writing.
Yeah.
And one of my first writing gigs was for a site called ptmoney.com.
Okay.
So I've always been a bit of a money nerd. I was the kid who was taking everything out of my piggy bank, counting it, and putting it back in again. And my dad was a financial planner, so I kind of grew up in the financial industry. But I never really thought of myself as a money expert. And so I found that the way that I view money is different from how a lot of people do. And I found, that I really enjoyed researching financial situations and issues, and particularly the psychology of money, but also like the best practices that people don't necessarily know. Yeah. So that's been 8 years ago now, and I've built this strange secondary career that I was not planning on having, but I really enjoy.
Yeah, excellent. So you talked some about the psychology of money. That struck something, and I saw that in my readings of your most recent book. Talk to the audience some about what you define as the psychology of money, because from my standpoint, Emily, I've always been raised and had a view of money as it creates options, but I've never been kind of the materialistic one to have such a view of money and love of it that I just rely on it so much, and I have such a care for it that I lust for it. And I know that people have different views of it. So, tell us about your view in terms of the psychology of money.
Well, the thing about money is, we use it every day, but it's really just this construct that we've put together. Money is valuable because as a society altogether, we've chosen to make it valuable. Like, you can't build a house out of money. You can't wear money. You can't eat money. It just simply is something that we have agreed to consider valuable. So because of that, because it's not something that occurs in nature, we all put our own psychological beliefs and moral beliefs to money. So for instance, you get some people who say, like, it's the morally right thing to do to keep careful track of your money and be good with it. And then you get other people who say it's the morally right thing to do to ignore money because we're above that. It's, caring about money is an immoral thing. So we define money based on our own experiences of money and our own psychological background with money. And so that's something that can lead you astray or give you a leg up on how you handle your money.
Yeah, definitely. And so, going along those lines, Emily, why do you feel it's important for people to figure out what money means to them? So you're talking about the psychology of it, and you kind of got into it a little bit, but, why is it important for people to understand that? What, their personal psychology and viewpoint is of money and, just basically what it means to them.
Sure. It's that's an important thing to figure out, because until you figure out what money means to you, you can't really recognize when you're making irrational decisions with money.
Sure.
So, if you just go along thinking that your view of money is everyone's view of money, you might end up making decisions that hurt you without realizing it. So, on page 24 of my book, I talk about a really fun, kind of interesting way to figure out what you think about money is to, like, finish the sentence. If I had $1 million, the first thing I would buy would be, and fill in the blank.
Right.
And so, and it's very telling when you think through, like, what the first thing you buy would be. Now, you get a lot of people who say, I would invest it. Okay, well, start thinking about that. Why does your plan to invest it, why would you plan to do that? What are you trying to get to? And once you have that realization, then you kind of get to the point where you view money as some kind of security or a path to securing wealth or things like that. Someone else might say the first thing I would buy would be a whole new wardrobe.
Yeah.
And the thing is, neither of those are wrong.
Okay.
They are just what you value about money.
Right. Okay. So in that value system, because you'll get some people that'll play different sides of it. So based on their upbringing, Emily, they'll say, people that view money in a negative light, who say, it's capital. They tied to capitalism and say, well, money is religion would say it's the root of all evil, and it's created the haves and have-nots in not just in this country but then around the world, and so they have more of this kind of minimalist viewpoint of their being, and that's kind of their vision in terms of with money. Then you get people who are very like I said, more materialistic, and they view money as the tell-all be-all. And everything centers around its acquisition and its desire to constantly have more of it, to do more of, like you mentioned, whatever the fill in the blank is of what you do with money, whether it's to create options, whether it's to fulfill certain feelings or esteem within oneself. And so, how do you see that balance between it? It tends to be those two almost cataclysmic balances of people who view it from a minimalist standpoint and people who may sometimes view it more in excess.
And, it's interesting because you get these kind of like two diametrically opposed views of money, but a lot of times the same person has both of those views. Yeah. So someone who thinks like, well, money is all about materialism and capitalism has caused a lot of pain to a lot of people, but at the same time, they personally kind of would love to be wealthy, even though at the same time they're like, wealthy people are awful.
Right.
They might be thinking that.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to recognize where your emotional reaction to money is coming from, because again, money just is. It's neither good nor bad in and of itself.
Right.
It is our reaction to it that can make things good or bad. So, you get these kind of two diametrically opposed views, and in the same person, and even in the same person under different circumstances. So I've always been very good with money. But when my father passed away, I was a beneficiary of his life insurance along with my sister. And she and I were both in our 30s at the time. We were not in any way relying on my dad's income. And I felt just an overwhelming sense of guilt about receiving this money, even though I knew intellectually that my dad meant for it to be a gift and wanted me to enjoy the money. But I felt like I had to choose ways to spend the money that dad would approve of.
Yeah.
And I tied myself in knots thinking like, well, I need to find out whether this was whole life insurance or term life insurance. So if it was whole life insurance and I would have gotten it if he'd lived to be in his 80s, because he passed away at 62, then I can enjoy it. But if it's term life insurance, I can't enjoy it.
Right.
And so that's the sort of thing where, like, even though in general I am able to look at money relatively dispassionately and see it as a tool and not be on those kind of either end of those that difference of opinion, once you got to a specific emotional moment for me, I got into this, like, I'm not good enough for this money. I shouldn't have it. And so that's the sort of thing where if you are not prepared for the kind of emotional reaction you might have to money, you might make not great decisions. Now, again, I was, I feel lucky that my father was a financial planner. I was able to inherit this money from him. That was just a lovely gift. And even my disordered thinking, I ended up putting money towards, I gave a bunch to charity. I put some towards my kids' college funds, some towards retirement, things that I thought dad would approve of. But it's still, my dad would have been like, oh, come on, you can buy yourself a car if you want to, honey. Yeah. He would have wanted me to enjoy it more. But again, and it took me until like several years later to look back and go, oh yeah, I was being kind of irrational.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you. So our guest today is Emily Guy Birken. She's the author, most recent book, In Financial Stress Now, that is available, and we're going to have her share how you can get in touch with her and get her books and communicate with her and that in just a second. But I got another question, Emily. How does the experience of scarcity affect money decisions? That, and I mentioned some earlier about in terms of when people are kind of more in the minimalist or resources are just short, just the basics of kind of just economics, where people, and everybody can mostly attest to this, that they've got shortages and scarcity of money. So how does that kind of experience with scarcity, whether it's throughout someone's life or maybe in periods of their life, how that tends to affect decisions when interacting with money?
So the science of scarcity I find really, really fascinating, and I actually go into it in detail in Chapter 4 of And Financial Stress Now. So there are two effects on your brain when you're experiencing scarcity, and these are when you're experiencing both financial scarcity but also time scarcity. I've experienced it with sleep scarcity when my sons were babies, and so the first thing that happens is something called tunneling, and we've all experienced that, where if you have a deadline that's coming up, you forget about everything else, but I got to get that deadline. I got to get this done in time. And so, you're focusing on that deadline and you forget to pay rent because of the deadline, or you forget to pick your kids up from school because I got to get this done. I got to get this done. Oh no, it's 3:30 and school ended at 3. So there's that tunneling where you get this hyper focus on whatever it is, the problem that is right in front of you. And so when it comes to financial scarcity, that becomes a problem because you get so focused on this specific current problem that you forget other things are coming up. So you're jumping from fire to fire, putting things out, which is a lot of where things like payday loan problems come from. Is like, okay, I got to get the money for rent or my car payment, and I can't do it without a payday loan. So you do that, but forgetting, oh wait, next week I can't pay the payday loan back. I got to have money for the utilities. So, and that's one of the reasons why it's so easy to fall into a cycle of bad money choices or poverty or payday loans, things like that, because the tunneling, you're so focused on the single problem in front of you rather than, kind of the global issue of money in your life. Yeah. The other thing that happens with scarcity is something called the bandwidth tax. Okay. So bandwidth describes how much of your mental power you have available to think about things. And so your bandwidth can get taxed when you are experiencing scarcity. And I see a lot of this when people talk about, when they are living in poverty, when poor rather than broke. Broke is when you're temporarily embarrassed of funds. Poor is when, like, this is consistently happening over and over again, where, like, every month is a struggle.
Right.
And so because you end up thinking about, because of the tunneling and because you have spent so much time like grocery shopping and doing the mental math, you don't have room left over for other things to think about. And that can happen where it doesn't just affect your mental abilities when it comes to money. It affects your mental abilities in other things. They've done studies where they've found that if they give the same problem to people who are not in financial trouble and people who are in financial trouble, those who are not in financial trouble do better by the tune of 13 IQ points, which is the difference between you after a good night's sleep and you after an all-nighter. Yes. So there is this inability to think as clearly if you are experiencing the scarcity of not making enough money at work and trying to make ends meet.
Yeah. And so with that, what would you suggest are, a best practice or two, Emily, for people that are experiencing that? I mean, obviously the obvious thing would be just have more money, but it seems like, there may be some maybe less obvious practices that people can engage in. Some may have more impact than others, but are there any best practices you'd like to share that you found have been helpful for people that you work with?
Absolutely. Yeah. The two best things to do is to outwit yourself from tunneling. So what I mean by that is use Google Alerts or Google Calendar alerts, your phone. There are ways that you can email yourself and to remind you that things are upcoming. Yeah. And so that's the sort of thing how if you've got an important thing due at work and you're afraid you're not going to remember it, you put your car keys on top of the important file, so you can't leave without it. Yeah. So those sorts of things. So trying to outwit yourself in terms of if you know that you're going to be tunneling or you struggle with money, and just kind of these reminders or alarms or things that go off to remind you don't focus too much on this one problem. There are other problems that need your attention that will become big problems if you don't deal with them when they're little problems. The other thing is to figure out a way to build slack into your budget. And that is one of those things that sounds way easier said than done.
Oh, of course.
But that's kind of just have more money. Right. But there are ways to build some financial breathing room into your monthly budget, and that's my 10th chapter in the book is all about that, finding your breathing room. And so there are things. One easy thing that a lot of people don't realize they can do is they can adjust their withholding on their W-4 forms at work, and that will increase their take home but decrease their tax refund. So now I don't necessarily recommend this for everyone because not everyone, some people are able to think rationally about a big $3,000 check in April, but not so much about the extra $60 in their paycheck. But for the folks who realize that like an extra $60 in their paycheck would really help a lot, and they don't, the $3,000 they get in April is a nice splurge, then it would make more sense to give yourself that breathing room. The other option is negotiating your bills. There is money to be found in your bills if you call up your internet provider, your cell phone provider, auto insurance, even rent can potentially be negotiated, and that can open up a little bit of extra money in your monthly in your monthly nut. I have a friend who, after reading my book, she let me know she was able to save $2,100 annually by just doing some of the things in that chapter with negotiation and things like that. Yeah. And so that's the thing that I get very tired of the kind of mental exercises you see where it's like, oh, if you just cut out your daily latte, you'll have $1,500 at the end of the year. That's go for the things that are actually going to have a measurable difference in your month to month, rather than having to keep track of pennies every day so that you have an extra $100 at the end of the year.
Yeah, right, exactly. And our guest today is Emily Guy Birken, financial guru and author. And we're having a great time, and thank you so much, Emily. I do have a few more questions for you. With what we were just talking about in terms of affecting money decision making, what are your thoughts on this for those that are in business? So you have those, and you talked about the W-4, which typically for the W-2 employee. But what about those that are, whether they're solopreneurs, whether they're full-fledged entrepreneurial business owners, whether they're partners in business, whether they're looking to get out of their cubicle come Monday and start doing something different. Yeah, how do you apply that view of money and that psychology of money, which I love that kind of term. How do you apply that when you're no longer, or maybe you're transitioning from kind of full-time or part-time employment?
So the issue of psychology of money is even more important if you are an entrepreneur, just because you need to know what kinds of mistakes about money you are likely to make. And again, this is about kind of outwitting yourself. If you know that you're likely to want to like really do everything in style and all of that, then you know that you need to put limits on like how much you can spend in startup costs and those sorts of things, because you know that you get a little go a little overboard wanting the really impressive office space and stuff like that, when that's not necessarily necessary. So really examining what you believe about money, what you believe about success can make a huge difference. And that's so important for entrepreneurs so that they don't get themselves in trouble because of mistakes that they could have seen coming if they knew themselves well. Yeah. The other thing that I really recommend to anyone who is starting an entrepreneurial thing, particularly solopreneurs, is to make sure that you always have a savings account for your taxes. So this is something I started when I started as a freelancer. When I first got started, I was not making a whole heck of a lot. I mean, I'd write articles for $25. Right. But for every single paycheck that I have ever gotten, 35% of it has gone into a savings account, which earns, it's not a huge amount of interest, but earns a little interest, so that I have that there to pay my quarterly taxes and I'm not scrambling. And then one of the great things about this was that after my first year of freelancing, at the end of every year, I have at least a little bit of money left over in that account that I then roll over back into my business. Yeah. And so that's the sort of thing where I don't know that everyone necessarily knows to do that. It can be difficult, particularly early on, to see 35% of what you're bringing in get put aside. But you'll be totally covered when Uncle Sam comes knocking, and you will also And you will also be building a little bit of a nest egg, because again, with the interest that you're earning, which sadly, it's not as much as it once was in savings accounts. Right. But with the interest you're earning and the fact that you're saving more than you probably will need to pay in taxes, you will have this fund that you can draw on from year to year, and that's just wonderful to have.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think those are some really good best practices. And for me, with having a banking background, I can certainly appreciate it's the type of advice that we try to share with people when we get an opportunity, particularly in the small business and commercial area of banking, where you're working from a relationship standpoint with clients, kind of directly one-on-one with owners. And you try to share, particularly what you just shared, with setting aside money for things like sales tax and that kind of thing, and other state and federal taxes, so that you don't get caught into that. And what I found too is, going back to what you were saying in terms of making money decisions, is that making money decisions personally definitely will transition and spill over into your business. And so how people view money, like we talked about earlier, will spill over to how they view it in their business. And ultimately, if they get to a point where they have employees and things like that, that culture of money that I like to refer it to gets passed down and kind of gets infused into the business. And I've seen that a lot, Emily, with when businesses tend to struggle, it tends to be that culture, whether it's typically how they personally view money spills in. So for example, I've come across owners that they love the casino, right? And they may have very viable and great businesses, but they're gamblers of money. They love the thrill of being able to feed that greed kind of monster of getting more through gambling. And I can't tell you how many times, for the ones that have struggled, it turns out to be a big struggle for them personally that then spills into the business. And so that's why I love that psychology and the culture of money, definitely. So it's very interesting. So Emily, how can practicing gratitude help a person's finances? And I'm interested in that on a number of different fronts. But it seems that there can be an impact on just your overall mindset towards it, and having maybe a gracious mindset can maybe make a positive impact on how one manages their finances. So, what are your thoughts there?
That's one of the things that I found that's very interesting. So there are researchers who study the science of happiness, and they have found that regularly expressing gratitude for the things in your life that you enjoy, that you're glad of, can help you feel happier and less likely to seek gratification through purchases. So, and this is really interesting to me because, I don't have a whole lot of, the fear of missing out, FOMO, for things, but I definitely do for experiences. I see friends who are going to Greece or, Hawaii or things like that, and I go, oh, I really wish I could do that. Right. But if I take a step back and think about all the wonderful things in my life, my two beautiful sons, my husband, the house that we share, a gorgeous day, the career that I've built, all of a sudden the desire to travel the world feels a little less, and that's similar with I think with business owners as well. It's very easy to see what you're not doing yet as a business owner or as an entrepreneur. But if you stop and go, like, look at how far I've come, look at everything that I've done, and the people I've been able to help, the career that I've been able to create, the money that I've been able to put in the bank, then you can kind of decouple the sense that you need more. I think one of the most dangerous words in the English language is deserve. Because you'll say something like, I deserve to have X, Y, or Z. And so that always describes success as something that you lack. If you think, I deserve to have X, Y, or Z, and whether that's an experience or an item or something like that. There's always going to be something that you don't have that you wish you could have. There's no one in the world who gets everything that they want or everything that they think they quote unquote deserve.
Right.
So it's far better to take the time. And I personally, I try to express gratitude every single day. That's part of our bedtime routine with my sons. Is every night we say what we're grateful for that night, which can be hilarious. My 4-year-old says things like whales and fire trucks.
Right.
But taking the time to think about what during this day was wonderful, am I grateful for? Not only do I feel better about the world, but I also recognize that what I have is enough, and I'm not reaching for something that I deserve as that would be success, because even if I once got that, there would be something else. And taking the moment to take stock and recognize how wonderful your life is just a great way to make sure you make better decisions about your money.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that perspective, Emily, of viewing life at a higher level and at a higher order than just limited to, like you say, some of the transactional things of acquiring things, and even with some of the experiences. And I'm one that I always have cherished and love experience. I've had times where I've had more of a money focus and the acquisition of things and things like that. And like you mentioned, having little ones, I've got 3 girls, so 8, 7, and 5 now, and so I definitely have developed over time that some of the experiences and again, just having the right perspective towards money and how I pass that on to them, and I see that how my wife and I pass our view of money on. So again, it speaks to some of that culture. So no, I think that's wonderful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. So any other things you'd like to share with our audience? I mean, this has been phenomenal, Emily. It really has. It's been great stuff.
Well, thank you. Yeah, for me, it's all about just knowing yourself. The better you know yourself, and I look at it from a financial perspective, but in so many different ways. Like the better you know yourself, the better decisions you can make, and the happier you can be. Because you'll actually be doing the things that are going to be fulfilling for you, and that's true when it comes to money, but it's also career-wise and things like that. If you know yourself and know what's going to get you the most bang for your buck and make you feel the best in terms of the career that you are pursuing, or the way that you spend your money, or even the food that you eat, or the people you spend time with, it just makes for a better life. And that I think should be everyone's biggest goal is making themselves the best life they can live.
Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. My guest today has been Emily Guy Birken. Emily, thank you so much for taking time out to be on the Minding Your Business podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. And so, Emily, I want to share with the audience, how they can get in touch with you, how they can buy and read your book. So, if you would, share how people can connect with you.
So you can reach me at my website. It's emilyguyberken.com, and that's the Birken is the one that trips people up. It's Birken. The Guy one is like guys and dolls. So you can. There are links to purchase all 4 of my books there, as well as links to all of my my writing online. And then you can also reach me on Twitter at Emily Guy Birken, and on Facebook under author Emily Guy Birken.
All right, excellent. And so I encourage everybody to reach out to Emily if you like what you've heard today, and if you have maybe other specific questions, you can reach out to her, and definitely go to Emily Guy Birken. She said the Birken trips you up, so I'm going to help you out. Birken is Birken, so emilyguyberken.com. Make sure you go there. You can check out her 4 books. Is there anything on the horizon for you, Emily? Is there another book on the way, or any other projects that you're working on?
So I'm currently working. I'm co-writing a book with a friend of mine, Joe Salsihai of Stacking Benjamins, and then I've got another book that may be coming in the future. It's still need to do a little work on that with my publisher, but so yeah, I've got some big things coming.
Yep, that's excellent. Well, we want to be there to be a part of that, and I want to have you back on the podcast. You and I, Emily, we could have sat here and probably talked for 8 hours, and we could have talked about everything financial. Because there's so much to it, and there's so much to touch on. So I would love to have you back at some point. And again, you've been phenomenal, and thank you so much. And I'm so glad to get connected with you.
Well, thank you so much, and anytime, and hopefully next time we can get the technology to work.
Yeah, the technology failed us a little bit, but we went back in time a little bit with the phone technology, but it's an oldie but good.
Exactly.
Yeah, Emily, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, Emily.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so Emily Guy Birken, who is a financial guru, author, and again, go to EmilyGuyBirken.com to check her out. And so, man, some good stuff, man. What you think, Lawrence?
Hey,
it's good stuff?
Yeah, it was real good, especially about the gratitude, and then when you talked about how you respect the money, like how you see it, your perception of it. You know, a lot of times I see where people are growing or people are trying to, want to make money, but they down it, like they downplay it, like it doesn't help them. And like you said, it's a tool, but when you don't respect it, why would you want it to come in your life? Because you're not going to respect it when it comes into your life. You can mess your life up, or you can mess something up. So that was pretty dope.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes both ways. I've always, my dad was, he was the one who kind of instilled the view of money in me, and he always just viewed it as it creates options. It's a tool that you use that creates options for you. It's not something that you rely on for your inner being or your inner definition of who you are or your ability to affect your environment or others. Is it important? Yes, it's been made important, like Emily said.
Right.
It really is not anything other than a vehicle that we've used in this country. We've made it important.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just the material it's made out of, and we've given it a value in this country, man. But it's always been viewed to me as a tool. So it's not one of these things where if you get so hung up on it, like I don't need it, and I can do nothing. Because then okay, we'll go down to MLG&W and tell them what you want to give. Those folks are they get a little extreme, right? And then what's funny about those folks sometimes is they have this view of money, but then they're relying on someone else to provide the money for them to have some level of lifestyle,
right?
Outside of living in the woods.
Yeah, and like you said, like I had a thing that I was saying too. I was like, I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. And so in my head, I'm like, I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy, so he can help me to do what I need to do where I need to go. But I would get around people, and I would say that around them. They was like, oh, you shouldn't want that, money, da-da-da-da-da. But I'm sitting there like, but you stressed out, and your number one goal that you're trying to get is money. So how are you trying to figure out to help you supply your life?
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not having money. Don't make me happy. It just produced the happiness that I want, and when I see in the world and my life, it doesn't make me happy. I'm already happy.
Right.
I'm already that.
You got to come with that. And I've always said this, man, and this probably came from someone else. I'm not saying I'm the originator of this phrase, but I've seen the example of it just in my life is, man, money only makes you more of what you already are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're already joyful and happy, it can make you more joyful and happy because you're positioning it the right way. If you're downtrodden and whatnot, money will give you a temporary high, but you're going to revert back to what you already are. If you're a butthole already, you know what I mean?
Right.
You're going to be just more of a butthole with money.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're very, community driven and, you know what I mean, you want to see people do well and that kind of thing, money's just going to help you do more. It's going to create more options for you to do more of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it only makes you more of what you already are. So
I think it was Earl Nightingale. I don't think if it was Earl Nightingale or the guy that wrote Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
But one of them said this. He said, listen, I can give you as much money as you want.
Right.
He said, but I promise you this, the money will find the hands of the people it originated with, if you don't change your mindset about money. You don't change your mindset about how you see the money. If it's a tool, what do you want the money to do? You actually giving it life to tell it what you want it to do. And he was like, I can give a man $1 million, and if up here he doesn't respect the money, doesn't know what he want to do with the money to help push to the next level, he said, I promise you, in probably about a year or 2 years, it's going to find his hand, it's going to find his way back into the same man's house, same man's pocket. So this is cool, man. You guys talking about finances and you putting out the things about it, because we need to understand that if we want to create wealth, especially for Memphis, because I think Memphis is a wealthy place, but the mindset has to be unlocked to see what's out there.
Right.
And if we can do that, and then we can show that hey, there's money here in the city, people won't run away from the city.
Right.
They'll stick around in the city, and they'll do what they can to help build the city where the city needs to be.
Right. And it'll create platforms. One of the things I see, man, as it relates to money, Lawrence, man, is people get frustrated because they want to, they either feel like people put a lot of barriers up. And listen, any city, I've lived in other cities, right? And as you've been, around this country, you've been around the world, so you've seen where you live. And every place that I've ever been, they have their challenges.
Right.
And no place that I've ever lived is giving anybody anything.
No.
Yeah, so I've never been to any place or any city that you can just show up and because you're you, or because you've got a degree, or because a couple people know your name, that all of a sudden, things should just open up. You've got to work and build, in your grind work wherever you go.
Right.
So whether you're in Memphis, whether you run down to Dallas, whether you run to Atlanta, whether you go to D.C., whether you go like Seattle, you go to San Francisco. I just told y'all earlier, the average rent in San Francisco is $4,219. It's $835 in Memphis. Okay? Now, some people may argue, well, Champ Ron, they pay you more in San Francisco. $4,219 a month is the average. All right, so think of how much money. Normally, your rent is you're roughly about 25 to 30% of your income. So we're talking about money. So do the math.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if $4,219 per month is 25 to 30% of your income, that's telling you what kind of income you're going to have
right.
to live fairly average in an apartment in San Francisco, California, versus $835 here in Memphis. Cleveland, Ohio, $844. Just giving you a few just to compare. Phoenix, Arizona, $1,294 average rent in the city of Phoenix, Arizona. You know what I mean? So this article's out here on Zillow. I mentioned it earlier before Emily jumped on, but yeah, I mean, it's just all interconnected in that view of money.
Yeah.
And like you said, man, Memphis. There's a lot of great things that are going on in Memphis. I'm not trying to be the Memphis, cheerleader and ignore that we, don't have inherent problems and challenges and obstacles. We do. There's no doubt about it. But I was talking with one of my boys on Instagram about this, just in the DM where he was frustrated and getting ready to leave Memphis. I said, man, you might have to do that.
Yeah.
You might, if that's how you feel about it, you might have to do that. But his frustration centered around he felt he had ideas that were maybe more advanced or too advanced for Memphis.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, I said, okay, so who have you spoken to about that? What kind of dialogue have you had? He and I don't talk that often.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't see him on the scene that often. Not that I'm on the scene all the time, but it's not like he's out doing a ton of networking.
Right.
So what are you doing? Are you waiting for someone to just come knock on your door or inbox you and say, hey man, I've got $1 million. I want to hear about your idea.
Yeah.
Like, not gonna happen. You know what I mean?
I wish.
If it was that easy, you know what I mean?
Right.
Hey man, we wouldn't be on this podcast. Lawrence and I be out somewhere. You know what I mean? You see our faces on downtown skyline already.
Right. And that's the thing, is you got to get people to see that you can't look at the situation we're in and say nothing's here. Because the moment you say nothing's here, I had to realize this, and my whole perception now has changed. Because, like you said, I've seen 17 countries around the world. I've been to multiple cities and stuff like that. And granted, there's some cities that are phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely.
That looks really good, for than Memphis. But I chose to be here in Memphis. I chose to love this city. I chose to come home and love on my city. And when I changed my perspective about the city and stopped saying that there was nothing here,
Right.
I started to see everything that was here.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? The moment you keep saying nothing, you're going to tell your brain to supply me with nothing.
Yeah.
But if you started saying, man, there's something out there, there's somebody out there. I wake up every day saying there's one person that I got to meet that's going to transform my life. And I wake up every day looking for that person. When I go out and I go talk and shake hands, it's to find that one person. I haven't found that one person yet, but I know that one person is out there. But my perspective is different now.
Yeah.
Because I don't say nothing. I don't say Memphis don't have
and,
nothing.
And you know what? That's, I've been, pretty successful here in this city in committing, most of my adult life here. Although, I've lived on each coast for short periods of time, man. And I attribute that not to my having gone to college and, I didn't come out with student loan debt and all that kind of thing. But, it's not my degree. It's not my banking career. It's not any of this stuff. It's not, businesses that I've had or any of that kind of thing. The big thing is mindset, like you said. And I've always been, an ambitious, optimistic type person. Mm-hmm. Now I'm a vetting guy, right? So I'm a guy that I'm not the hype guy. So I've always told people, in the group, I'm not Flavor Flav. I'm more Chuck D. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I'm a little more Chuck D than Flavor Flav.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, I've always viewed it like, man, there's always, like you said, that opportunity.
Right.
There's always someone out there, and I've got to get involved. As I've gotten more involved over the years, and not just what everybody else is doing,
right,
or what's the most public or the sexiest thing that's out there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's a lot of these things. There's conversation, there's meetings that go on in this city that we're not always in or privy to because they're structured to keep you out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's just not limited to Memphis. I've been a part of meetings that are Monday at 7:30 a.m. when they know nobody's coming.
Right.
At least not people that, of any kind of ethnicity or anything like that.
Yeah.
They know they can keep it homogenous.
Right.
Not people that have to go to work in the morning or have to drop kids off at school or just not connected and just not involved. So people are saying, well, how do you get involved with that kind of stuff? It's the same grind word just like with everything else.
Yeah.
You have to make it a point to go find it.
Right.
And you won't find it doing the same thing you've been doing.
Right.
If I go hang out the same place with the same people all the time, then I'm just going to get that.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that if that's what you want, but that's what you're going to get.
Right.
So you have to expand your horizon. And some people are fearful of getting around people that don't think, look, and act, you know what I mean, like them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So people tend to gravitate towards their homogenous, environment. Yeah. And they've got to move on to, getting around a different. It's not just how they look. So some people get to where I got to get around more white people, or I got to get around more black people, or I got to get around more people in the city or people in the country, or this type of person or that type. It's not even about that because diversity lies, man, everywhere. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Two people can have the same background, same skin, but they can be completely diverse. Right. And so not to make it, just looking at the view of someone in the mirror and saying, oh, well, that's where my difference is. That's where my diversity may be, but it's the mindset. Right.
And I talked about this thing called pressure. And I was like, you need to go find pressure. You need to go find things that, or people, or get around environments that makes you seem small. Like, not trying to go into an environment where, I'm just equal and all that stuff. Right. You need to go where you seem so small that it puts so much pressure on you that you have to expand. Right. You have to, get to a place. So if I'm going to a networking event, and I'm going to a networking event, and it's great to go to something that I can relate to everybody with. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. I'm developing, I find new people. But I want to get in networking scenes where, your company just made 50 million. Your company just made 100 million. You just opened up 10 more businesses. I want to get in those type of environments that it applies so much pressure to me because I don't know what's going on. My brain is about to pop because they're saying different words I don't know. Right. But it forces me to expand. It calls me to expand. I even said like a diamond. A diamond can't become a diamond without pressure. So you have to apply the right pressure. And the right pressure is getting into, like you said, those environments that you're not familiar with. Right. But they cause, and I say they cause you to shrink in there. And then once you take that humble approach to say, you know what, I may not know what I know. I thought I did, but I'm here to learn. Watch how big that expands. Like, watch how big your mind go. Like, my ideas are like ridiculous now because I got around guys like you and, you know, around the other guys that's around the city right now and Jason Daniels and all them. My thought process is like,
Yeah, shout out to Jason Daniels, Ojinka Carr, everybody,
Yeah, Ojinka,
everybody, man.
Yeah.
Memphis Marcus, what's going on?
Yeah,
My guy
Memphis
Marcus
Marcus,
Johnson,
yeah.
Derek Watson.
them guys. So now my
Lou.
thinking is like,
Yeah.
Now-
But see, that's the thing. When you get around that type of environment, like you say, it forces you to level up. But what it also does is you start to have a viewpoint of equality. Meaning that one of the things I learned from mentor along those lines, Lawrence, was even when I'm in those environments, you have to operate. You know, you realize that you're small,
Yeah.
right? But you've got to operate big,
Yeah.
Meaning that, you know, I'm looking at people eye level. See, one of the things that helped me is people want to know who the hell was wrong,
Gotcha.
right? Because they see me, I might be in the spot, right? Even when, you know, I was younger, even coming up, but I'm coming up, I'm interrupting conversations, and I'm talking to people,
Yeah.
and I'm learning the art of how they interact, even in the networking meetings.
Gotcha.
How they shake hands,
Yeah.
how they put their hand on shoulders and things like that, how they contort their body,
Yeah.
and stuff. Because there's all these messages that are hidden with some of these people at that level,
Wow.
where they show everybody else in the room who's got the juice,
Wow.
right?
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And so I'm learning all this.
Wow.
And so then when I go there and I find whoever's getting the most attention, I come shake his hand. And if he got a name tag on, or I get his name,
Yeah.
and then I get around some other people, like, hey, John, come over here.
Yeah.
Right? Now they want to know what you know, John may be, in their mind, the most important guy in the room.
Yeah.
Or Jane's the most important lady in the room.
Gotcha.
But then now I'm calling them over. They want to know, well, who the hell's this guy? It's kind of like on American Gangster. Remember in Denzel movie American Gangster? When his wife got him the mink coat.
Right.
And whatever, he's sitting ringside.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden,
Everybody.
the police force that's out looking for people is
Right.
like, man, who the hell's this dude?
Right.
He's sitting in front of the Italian mob.
Right,
At
right.
the fight.
Right.
You know, the big, you know, not the Thriller in Manila, but, you know, you got the big fight down there in
Right.
New York, in Harlem. And then here comes a guy, mink coat. And he's sitting in front of the top mob bosses
Yeah.
that we've been trying to catch for decades.
Yeah.
How's he sitting down in front of them?
Wow. Yeah.
Shaking their hands, and,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And they coming up to him, kissing him on the cheek, and all this
Right.
mob stuff that they be doing.
I never looked at it like that.
You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. People want to know who that guy or who that girl is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he just getting in the game.
Right.
Italian mob been running the game 50 years
Right,
in
right,
that
right.
area. But now, come to find out, he's their main supplier. They dealing with him. And this is a guy driving a Buick, taking his mama to church. You know what I mean?
I got you.
He ain't no,
Right.
you know what I mean? He's not busting
The flashy,
rhymes and jumping
yeah.
around. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's not
yeah.
Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
You know what I
Hey,
mean?
you kind of helping
So-
me out. You kind of helped me out on that because, you know, I was a guy carrying bags. You know, I was a guy,
Been
you know, setting up everything for everybody, and you know, going in and helping everybody, and
Yeah.
now the opportunity has started to open up to me now to get into these places and speak and all that stuff. Now it's like, wow, people are like, who is this guy when he walk in the room? You know, I want to attach myself to him, and I never look at it like how you just put it out. I'm like, wow, okay, cool, I got it. Now that gives me a lot more rest because sometimes I feel like I got to push even harder.
Right.
You know, because I want people to see me. I want you to see me. You know.
But you know, people naturally will, man. Because
Yeah.
what happens is when you're on the scene and you're interacting authentically and you're listening. See,
Yeah.
most people in networking situations, or even when they're talking about the city like that, they don't want to listen. They want to project.
Yeah.
So they're in the mood, that mode where they just want to tell everybody about them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And one of the keys to that I've always found with success is, you know, the more people that I can legitimately help with my skill set, the better I'm viewed, right? So I'm viewed as that resource.
Right.
So that's why I always go into it, can I be a resource to somebody?
Yeah.
So it's not about telling you everything that I do.
Yeah.
Everything. You're gonna ask me and demand what I do.
Right.
Because like you say, we were talking about earlier, when I'm in that room, they want to know who I am. Who the hell is that guy? What is he doing? Why is he here?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And how is he shaking John's hand? How is he shaking James' hand? He got his hand on their shoulder,
Yeah.
taking pictures, and they want to take pictures with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a guy that's $20 million.
Yeah.
Who's this guy? They don't know, but they want to find out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And so as they find out, they start learning about you.
Right.
And then they start connecting the dots on, man, this guy or this girl could be a resource for what I'm doing. So I can be a resource to them.
Right.
And then it's just about the follow-up.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people, when they complaining about that, people get hyped up about stuff.
Right.
So they live off the hype of it. And that's going to be real short term. It's like eating a Snickers bar. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you need a Snickers. Yeah. You got to transfer it back to yourself for a minute.
Right.
Then you can turn back into that monster. So the hype is good.
Mm-hmm.
So I never suggest that it's not. The hype is good, but the hype is misleading because the hype will blind you from the vetting piece that you have to do.
Yeah.
And people who engage in the hype don't like the vetting piece because they typically, the vetting piece pokes holes in balloons.
Right.
You know,
I like that.
and people don't like that because
Yeah.
they want to be on the high.
Right.
But you got to vet it out for the real.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so those people, there's a lot of, you know, when you're in these groups and things like that, they're testing you. They want to see, are you going to follow up? You know, so a lot of people have great ideas and things like that, but there's no follow up.
Right.
They just got to put it out. Everybody gets hyped. They run away. They take a selfie for Facebook.
Yeah.
Post it on Instagram. Post it on Twitter. Post it on LinkedIn. And then they go.
Yeah.
And then 3-4 months go by and ain't nothing happening because nobody's taking the lead on what's happening next.
Yeah.
Until the next idea comes up.
Yeah.
And then they run to the next idea. It's kind of like the Coyote and the Roadrunner cartoon. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So every scene, you know, before the end of every scene, he get messed up some kind of way, right?
Right.
He fall off a cliff. The boulder falls on him.
Right.
You know, he get burnt up.
Yeah.
You know, something flips on him. And then the next scene, he's back to coming up with what? A new idea to catch the same bird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got you. Like that concept.
It's a new idea. That's just kind of my analogy. It's a new.
Wow.
So he's calling Acme. Acme delivers like that. Before FedEx,
Right.
before UPS, you had Acme that delivered in the middle of the desert to coyotes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Right.
No invoice. Nothing.
Yeah.
He ain't got to go online. He had to do nothing.
Right.
If he needs bird seed, bam.
Yeah.
He got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's getting all this. He come up with a new idea, and then it backfires. Then he's off to the next thing.
Right. And I
He
had
doesn't
to,
stick with anything.
I had to learn about the follow up, you know, because I had a fear of calling back again. You know, I had the fear of calling back again because then I felt like, which kind of like when you grow up, you kind of talk like don't beg. I felt like I was begging, but then the follow up is not really begging. The follow up is seeing how passionate or how consistent or how great you want this idea to be in somebody's hands or be with somebody, and you go with that, you know. And they want to see that. They want to see your because it's not their idea.
Yeah, but it comes, you know, ideas and all those are a dime a dozen,
Right.
man. So that's the thing. So people that are busy doing things, they don't want to interrupt that unless something comes along that makes it worth them interrupting that.
Yeah.
So that's when you talk about being a disruptor. See, a disruptor comes in with a guy or girl that already has their thing going.
Yeah.
And see, it's one thing when people just sitting on the porch doing nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
they always down to go do something.
Right,
But they're not
right.
doing anything.
Right.
But a guy or girl that's already plugged in doing something to whatever level that is that they enjoy, you come in and disrupt that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because now you're presenting something that's helping them define themselves sometimes better, or they get a better definition of you and what you can deliver and bring to the table. You see what I'm saying? And so that's where, you know, it kind of comes into play, man.
Cool,
For sure.
man.
So, man, what you got coming up next, man? I know.
So you know,
what's
right
next?
now we are in the works of developing the social media stuff. You know, I'm really learning about how to build your brand on social media, how to really take that to the next level. And then the next thing that we're doing is we're reaching out to go to Silicon Valley. That's what I think is going to Silicon Valley here soon to pitch an idea. And you know, my prayer is that, you know, the idea gets picked up and moving into the next area, because I want to produce something that not only affects the community, but it affects this nation. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Me getting back to the country and seeing what's happening in the country and never knowing what was going on for the last 6 months, and seeing is like, we got to do something.
Right.
And my heart is that everybody's been calling the country to come together. But I feel really deep about this is that the veterans are going to have to call everybody together. Because we lived it, we tasted, we've been to different places, we've seen different things about other country, and we come back home and our country is the way it is. We got to do something about that. Yeah. We got to fix that, and I believe that the veterans are. So my next push in the next couple of weeks is I'm going to call out veterans and see if can we go into these cities and can we go into these communities and can we start to engage the dialogue, get the police back on force, get the country back on force, get even football. Like when I see sports getting attacked for stuff that's going on.
Yeah, from the White House and
that
the
stuff,
NFL.
That stuff hurts, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, it hurts. Like, come on, man. You're supposed to be enjoying your job playing football. We get that turn, get that kind of opportunity to escape what we're doing. That's why we kind of watch. So that's kind of on the horizon, what we want to do. And then, just kind of just put my hands back into Memphis, see what's happening, see what I can do.
And you got the podcast too, right?
Yes, I have a podcast called The Antidote with the Law. Yeah. And you can go listen on the podcast, The Antidote with the Law. We're going to frustrate you if you come listen to that podcast. We're going to make you mad. You're going to get pissed off. You're going to be like, I don't want to do this. And, oh, my God. But we're going to love on you till you get to go into your next level.
Dig that, man.
Yeah.
Man, dig that. Well, man. Lawrence, thank you again, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate your support.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you coming through, man. That's Lawrence Thompson. If people want to connect with you, man, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on all social media platforms. If you go on Facebook, it's Lawrence.Thompson.8008. You go on Instagram, it's Speaker_Lawrence. And if you want to go on Twitter, it's I am Law Jr. the number 8. And just hit me up in the DM. Everything goes down in the DM now. So hit me up in the DM.
And be careful with that.
and we get close and we'll talk and we'll vet it out and everything. So connect with me in that area.
Yeah, well, dig that, man. Well, thank you so much, Lawrence,
thank you, man,
for coming through. We're here, Slice of Soul Pizza Lounge, 1299 Madison Avenue, here in Midtown Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you again for joining me today with Lawrence T coming through, man. I keep wanting to go through I want to call you the law, man.
You can call me the law. It's okay. Everybody call me the law.
It just trip me up sometimes, man. I want to get into my boy Law. Emily Guy Birken, thank you so much again for her joining. Emily says, okay in the DM. Yeah. As Emily Strickland says that. Okay, yeah. So that's why I said, man, you be careful with the DMs, man. A whole lot of things can go on.
No, I vet that out, man. Like you said, I vet that out. That's my cutie right there. I vet that out.
There you go. So dig that. So, man, thank y'all so much for joining. Episode 57, we're at a close. We'll be back next week for another episode of the Minding Your Business podcast. Entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's no business like minding your own. Thank y'all so much on Facebook Live for joining. You can pick up the podcast, www.themybpodcast.com. You can also check us out, SoundCloud, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Stitcher, Spreaker, all the places that you get your podcast content. Make sure you check out The Antidote. Make sure you check out the Minding Your Business podcast. Thank you so much, Champ Ron. I'm out.